Hare Krishna. We come to chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, which is titled The Yoga of Division Between Divine and Demonical Qualities. So, this has 24 shlokas. We'll take each one individually. So, let's start with the first one. Absolute fearlessness, perfect purity of mind, constant fixity in the yoga of meditation for the sake of self realization, and even so, charity in its sattvic form, control of the senses, worship of God and other deities, as well as of one's elders, including the performance of Agni-hotra, pouring oblations into the sacred fire, and other sacred duties. Study and teaching of the Vedas and other sacred books, as well as the chanting of God's names and glories, suffering hardships for the discharge of one's sacred obligations, and uprightness of mind as well as of body and senses. So this is Krishna is starting with the divine qualities first. So the first divine quality he is mentioning absolute fearlessness, no fear of anything, be it death, enemies, anything or and everything. You are fearless. Perfect purity of mind. There's no uh, काम क्रोध मोह लोभ, which we call in Hindi, like desire for worldly opulences, anger, attachment to the material, then greed, lust, all these things are absent. Constant fixity in the yoga of meditation for the sake of self-realization. So this is very important. That why are you doing yoga? If you're doing yoga to gain wealth, worldly riches, then it's absolutely uh, I would say, hopeless way of pursuing such a pristine science, and you're wasting it on such small things that it is an absolute disregard to the art which is yoga. The yoga should and only done for the purpose of reaching the ultimate state of your natural disposition, which is supreme love, self-realization, being one with God, or whatever else you call it. Like the gyanis and knowledgeable people call it being one with God. The devotees call it getting the darshan of the Lord or getting the vision of the Lord. Then, even so, charity in its sattvic form, charity without any ulterior motive is also a divine quality. Control of the senses. Your senses are not controlling you, you are controlling the senses. It's all right to satisfy the senses with various objects, but make sure that they are not the ones dragging you there. You are in total control of the senses. Worship of God and other deities, as well as of one's elders, including the performance of Agni-hotra, which is the sacred practice of putting offerings into the fire, which used to be done a long time ago. Now it is very less prevalent. Study and teaching of the Vedas and other sacred books, as well as chanting God's names and glories. Suffering hardships for the discharge of one's sacred obligations and uprightness of mind as well as of body and senses. So, chanting of God's names and glories is something which is the most prevalent thing to do in Kali Yuga. Chanting of God's name. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu behind me used to say, Harera Nam, Harera Nam Eva Kevalam, Kaleva Nastiva Nastiva Nastiv Gatiranyata. Which means that only the name of the Lord is the way to go in this age of Kali Yuga. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was incarnation of Krishna himself. He appeared in the 16th century in Bengal, and so he just glorified God's chanting and kirtan and doing this singing and dancing towards your path of self-realization. So that's it with the first one. Let's come to the second shloka. Non-violence in thought, word, and deed. Ahimsa, which we call in Hindi, non-violence. Then comes truthfulness. Truthfulness is basically not cheating anyone, being true to yourself, not faking, not pretending. geniality of speech, being genuine in your speech, just not to woo someone, you say anything which is not authentic. Absence of anger, even on provocation, disclaiming doership in respect of actions, quietude or composure of mind, abstaining from slander, compassion towards all creatures, absence of attachment to the objects of senses, even during their contact with the senses, mildness, a sense of shame in transgressing the scriptures or social conventions, and abstaining from frivolous pursuits. Abstaining from frivolous pursuits means that if your goal is self realization, do not get lost in the way, just keep pursuing your goal and uh, do not get into small things if you have gained some energy out of your spiritual practices. Sublimity, forgiveness, fortitude, external purity, bearing enmity to none, and absence of self esteem, these are the marks of him who is born with the divine endowments. So, some people say self esteem is an important thing because if we don't have self esteem, other people will not respect us. So, Krishna is saying that self-esteem should also be absent in you because that leads to ego, and ego is the main culprit which comes in between you and God, because God demands unconditional love. He doesn't like someone who has a ego about doing things or possessing things. So this is a very important point: absence of self-esteem. Then come to the fourth one. These are the divine qualities which we have covered in the first three shlokas. So now Krishna is talking about the demonic qualities: hypocrisy, saying something and doing something else; arrogance, ego basically; right? Pride, same work, same thing as ego; anger, sternness, and ignorance too. These are the marks of him who is born with demonic properties. Now comes the fifth shloka. The divine endowment has been recognized as conducive to liberation, and the demonic one as leading to bondage. Grieve not, Arjuna, for you are born with the divine propensities. So, there are two ways the divine qualities leads one to liberation. One gets free from all these maya, or basically all which is untrue. And demonic qualities are something which bind you further. You think that you will be more happy, you will be more comfortable, but ultimately, when the result comes of having demonic qualities and actions, you are more bound and uh, just in chains of your sins that come from demonic qualities. So Krishna is reassuring Arjuna that you are born of divine propensities, so you need not worry about these things. There are only two types of men in this world, Arjuna: the one possessing a divine nature and the other possessing a demonic disposition. Of these, the type possessing divine nature has been dealt with at length. Now, hear in detail from me about the type possessing demonic disposition. So only two categories of people, divine or demonic. Now Krishna is coming to the demonic ones in detail. Men possessing a demonic disposition know not what is right activity and what is right abstinence from activity. So many times you face a dilemma that you are not able to judge a person very clearly. So these elaborations will help you in ascertaining whether a person is divine or demonic, whether you should get in association of that one or not, based on these divine and demonic distinctions. So Krishna is mentioning that men possessing a divine disposition know not what is right activity and what is right abstinence from activity. So people who cannot uh, cannot have a distinction between what is the right thing to do and what is the right thing not to do, are possessing a demonic disposition. So basically, he's saying that if you do not have clarity, if you are confused and you are still going about doing action, you come in the category of demonic qualities. Because once you are confused and you do not have clarity about things, a good idea would be to just sit down, do your spiritual practices, attain some clarity of thought, of purpose, and then get into action. Hence, they possess neither purity, nor good conduct, nor even truthfulness. So, someone who is not having vivek of dharma and adharma is of demonic qualities. Vivek is the distinction between what is true and what is untrue. And one saint, Swami Tulsidas used to say, "Bin satsang vivek na hoi," which means that without the association of saintly beings, you are not able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So it is a very good idea to have association of saints and sadhus. Then Krishna is continuing with the demonic qualities. Men of demonic disposition say this world is without any foundation, absolutely unreal and godless. So they are just frivolizing the entire creation by saying that there's no purpose, no real uh, basis to this entire thing or phenomena which is going on. Brought forth without brought, brought forth by mutual union of male and female, and hence conceived in lust. What has done this? They are saying that everything is just hormones. People get together, and this race is continuing. That is the only basis of all this which is going on. So people speak according to their own intellect, whether small or large. Clinging to this false view, these slow-witted men of wild disposition, terrible deeds, are enemies of mankind, bent on destruction of the world. So, those who have such views are just bent on destruction of the world. They do not come up with anything productive or constructive. Cherishing insatiable desires and embracing false doctrines through ignorance, these men of impure conduct move in this world full of hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance. So, this we have covered earlier: hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance, giving themselves up to innumerable cares, ending only with death. They remain devoted to the enjoyment of sensuous pleasures and are firm in their belief that this is the highest limit of joy. So they think that the only pleasure or joy is through the pleasure of the senses. Senses are basically uh, touch, hearing, smell, sight, and which one is left? Touch and taste. So, but there are pleasures which are much beyond these five senses, and those come in the spiritual realm. Those are the divine pleasures or bliss, happiness, which we call. Held in bondage by hundreds of ties of expectation and wholly giving themselves up to lust and anger, they strive to amass by unfair means hoards of money and other objects for the enjoyment of sensuous pleasures. So their sole objective is to earn money and gratify their senses. That's all. They just can reach up to that level. Their intellect doesn't go beyond that. They say to themselves, "This much has been secured by me today, and now I shall realize this ambition. So much wealth is already with me, and yet again this shall be mine." So they just constantly calculate about the money that they're going to make to fulfill their desires. That enemy has been slain by me, and I shall kill those others too. I am the Lord of all, the enjoyer of all power. I am endowed with all occult powers, and am mighty and happy. So they think themselves to be the supreme and above everyone else. So So they just roam around with confidence and zero clarity, and just think in terms that whom do I have to kill, who is coming in my way, and I just have to fulfill my desires and be happy. So, so desire is not a wrong thing. Just desire should be divine instead of worldly. That is the only thing. If you desire for the pleasure of God, then that is a divine desire. If you desire for the pleasure of your own senses, of your own body, that is a very worldly desire. I am wealthy and own a large family. Whoever is equal to me, I will sacrifice to gods, will give alms, I will make merry. Thus deluded by ignorance, enveloped in the mesh of delusion, and addicted to the enjoyment of sensuous pleasures, their mind bewildered by numerous thoughts, these men of devilish disposition fall into the foulest hell. So they think that they are giving to God, so they are making sacrifices, they are giving charity. So it's all their possession, and they are the magnanimous ones who are giving away everything. Whereas they don't know the simple reality. Even this body they didn't possess. This was also given to them by nature, and just the whole reality is upside down in their head. And as a matter of fact, the consequence is that they go down to hell because of such thinking and disposition. Hell, while living in this uh, birth and after death, they go to lower realms of creation. Intoxicated by wealth and honor, those self-conceited and haughty men perform sacrifices only in name for ostentation without following the sacred rituals. So their whole purpose of doing sacrifices is to gain more wealth, more honor, everything for their own self-esteem. Given over to egotism, brute force, arrogance, lust, anger, and calumniating others, they despise me, the God, dwelling in their own bodies as in those of others. So let's imagine that there's a shrewd manager in a company, and he is very cunning to everyone. He's very rude to everyone. But if there's a generous big boss over him, so he will be always jealous of that big boss because uh, there's someone to control that small manager as well. So these people who are of demonic qualities, they may attain powers and wealth and everything, but they still don't know that there's a larger force working in action. So they despise God because they cannot reach that state, which is the whole, uh, area of God, basically. Those haters, sinful, cruel, and vilest among men, I cast again and again into demonical wombs in this world. So such people, Krishna puts them into demonical families who are of similar nature, and they just keep going lower and lower if they continue with these actions. Failing to reach me, Arjuna, those stupid persons are born life after life in demonic wombs, and they verily sink down to a still lower plane, and then they just going down to lower hells after each lifetime. Desire, anger, and greed. These triple gates of hell bring about the downfall of the soul. Therefore, one should shun all these three. So, Krishna is pinpointing on three qualities which are the gates to hell, uh, which is desire. Desire by desire he means lust. Uh, Second one is anger, and third one is greed. So calm, krodh, low. And there's a very peculiarity to this thing. The logic is that uh, if you are able to control one of these, the other two will be automatically worked out. So desire or calm, or lust, is the root cause of the other two. So if your desire is not fulfilled, uh, anger will culminate, anger will generate itself. And on the other hand, if your desire is fulfilled, then greed will come. For example, like you desire for, let's say, a contract in your work. Now, if you get that contract, you get some money, you will run after more money, which is the greed aspect. And if you're not able to get that contract, then you will get angry, which is the root cause of anger or growth. So you just need to handle the desire aspect. And an easy way to handle the desire thing is just turn the direction of your desire, change it from worldly desire to godly desire. So, like for example, if you desire to eat a pizza today, so just think that I will order a pizza and offer it to the Lord, and after that you eat that pizza. So there's no problem about it. So just a little tweak in the desire, and you are sorted from desire, anger, and lust. And be rest assured that you are not going to hell at least. Then we're just left with three more shlokas. Freed from these three gates of hell, man works for his own salvation and thereby attains the supreme goal, that is God. So, if you are free from these gates of hell, then you are available to attain your supreme goal, which is God realization, the ultimate bliss. Discarding the injunctions of the scriptures, he who acts in an arbitrary way according to his own sweet will, such a person neither attains occult powers, nor the supreme goal, nor even happiness. So, if you discard the scriptures, what is mentioned in the scriptures, the Vedas and all the other holy books, so and you act out of your own free will, thinking that you are all knowing and everything, then you deprive yourself from all the occult powers, which is called Siddhi in Hindi. You deprive yourself from the supreme goal, which is self realization, God realization, and even happiness you are deprived of. Basically, you are in a state of misery and depression. And the last shloka, which culminates this chapter, therefore, the scripture alone is your guide in determining what should be done and what should not be done. Knowing this, you ought to perform only such action as is ordained by the scriptures. So, take the scriptures as the authority. What you have to do, if that is right, there has to be some proof of that in the scriptures. If that proof is not there and you're still doing it, you're doing it out of your own free will, and that will lead to the demonic nature and ultimately to hellish planets, and you will be lost for a long, long time. So this is the entire chapter 16, which is the distinction between divine and demonic qualities. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.